What up, guys? This is
Cheevo, guys!
back here again with another achievement guide. Today we're going to be focusing on Alveole. This game was published by Sometimes You, and it was developed by Emil, Ismaylov, and Denis, Petrov. The game is going to be releasing on September 1st, 2021. It's actually going to have a stack, being that it's going to be available on the Xbox One as well as the Xbox Series X and S. These are separate versions, separate purchases, as well as separate achievement lists. Now, without a guide, this game can actually be quite confusing, and more than likely it would take a while to figure out each of these achievements. However, I want to give a shout out to Legend Killer X from TrueAchievements.com. This gentleman posted some solutions for each of the achievements, and that's what I used to help make this video guide. So shout out to Legend Killer X from True Achievements. Now, in terms of completion time, this is going to take about 20 to 25 minutes to get the full 1000 gamer score or platinum trophy. And again, that's only with a guide. Without a guide, more than likely, this would probably take 1 to 3 hours to figure out. And you would probably be bored out of your mind in the process. So again, big shout out to Legend Killer X for figuring this out. But yeah, I mentioned earlier that there's an Xbox Series X stack. So if you have a next gen console, you can purchase the game once again for an additional 1000 gamer score. Again, it's going to take about 25 minutes per 1000 G. So if you bought both versions, you're looking at 50 minutes to complete both of them for 2000 gamer score, and that would cost you about $10. Now, it's really hard to describe this game. I would describe it as a stick figure running on a hamster wheel, and that's pretty much the whole game. That, and you're jumping over some what would be hurdles. However, I'm going to read the store description. Alveole is a minimalistic puzzle where the player must understand how to run and why he does it. Alveole is a short experimental project that explores the possibilities of the player in a restricted environment, where there's only one game mechanic, elevated to the absolute. And ain't that the truth? Restricted environment, one game mechanic. You're going to understand all of that in just a moment. Now you can press A to start running and A to jump. You're going to see some hurdles that'll start appearing every few seconds. We're going to start off by crashing into every single one of them. A is to jump, however, for the first ending, we want to crash into every single one. After you crash into 3 of these hurdles, you're going to unlock the first ending, called Coward, worth 60 gamer score for getting the Coward photo card. Each of these photo cards are going to represent a different ending that we're going for. As you can see, we have 8 squares on the left and 8 squares on the right of this hamster wheel. Each of those are slots for each of our photo cards or endings. So in total, we're going to need to unlock 16 photo cards or endings. And as you can see, we got the Coward ending for crashing into the first 3 barriers. Now at first, I was wondering why my achievement didn't pop, but I ended up finding out that these achievements have a bit of a delayed notification, so you might get a delayed pop with a lot of these achievements. Now the next achievement or trophy that we're going to go for is called Welcome Back, and this is for getting the Welcome Back photo card. This is simply for quitting back to the main menu and then starting up the game once again. Once you start the game back up, you should start unlocking the next achievement called Welcome Back with 60 gamer score for getting the Welcome Back photo card. There we go, a little delayed, but that is the Welcome Back photo card. Next, we're going to be going for the Far Space photo card or ending. For this one, all we need to do is hold the A button for around 15 seconds as soon as you start the wheel. So again, rather than just tapping the A button, you're going to press it and hold it down for 15 seconds. This will end up unlocking our next photo card or ending. It's called Far Space, worth another 60 gamer score. Alright, there we go. That is the Far Space card. You're going to realize that over time these cards are going to start adding to the either left or right hand side, and eventually we're going to fill up all of these cards and get all of the endings, which is going to unlock the final card. And there we have the achievement. As usual, a little delayed. Now I want to point out that on the upper left hand corner of the screen you can see a little calendar with the number 10 on it. As we play the game, that number is going to count down to 1. And once it gets down to the final day and we complete it, we're going to unlock an achievement for going through all of the days. I also want to point out that eventually the triangle at the top is going to make like a dinging sound, and at that point you want to press LB to unlock one of the endings. It could be randomly during any of your attempts, so once it goes off, just make sure to press LB and that will get you that photo card or ending. Alright, there you go. The chime just happened with that triangle at the top of the screen. I pressed LB and that unlocked the detective photo card or ending. Okay, otherwise, the next ending we were going to be going for is the hopscotch ending. To unlock this one, we need to jump over a barrier and then crash into a barrier. Then jump over a barrier and then crash into a barrier. You're going to rinse and repeat this process until you unlock the hopscotch ending. In terms of timing these jumps, guys, it's way better to jump earlier rather than later. The game is actually really forgiving in terms of jumping early. I've jumped on the barrier plenty of times and my character never had the crash animation. However, if you jump too late, you can definitely crash into the barrier. So my advice in terms of making these jumps is jump early. Now you may be wondering, is this the whole game? And yeah, it is the whole game. Basically the way this works is there's a total of 7 hurdles or barriers, whatever you want to call them, per run. So you're going to have to complete the game in different combinations in effort to get these different photo cards. So some barriers we're going to crash into them, some barriers we're going to jump over them, and depending on that pattern, we're going to unlock certain photo cards. So right now we're doing the hopscotch. We're alternating between a successful jump over the barrier and then a crash into the barrier. But to answer that question, in total, you're going to see 7 different barriers per run. And we're going to, again, have to complete that in a certain pattern to unlock certain endings. So just keep alternating until eventually you unlock the next photo card, which again is called hopscotch, for alternating between a successful jump and a crash. Now, I want to point out that if you mess up any of these runs, it's no big deal. I know you're probably maybe a little stressed out by the day counter on the upper left-hand corner, but once the days run out, it still lets you play the game an infinite amount of time, so you can still try to get any of these different photo cards or endings. Now, in our next run, we're going to be going for the adventurer photo card or ending. To do this one, we need to crash into the first barrier and then jump over the next 5 and then crash into the last one. I'll say that once again. Crash into the first barrier, then you need to successfully jump over the next 5 barriers, and then we're going to crash into the last barrier, which is the 7th. So you're going to miss the first, you're going to jump over the next 5, and then you're going to miss the 7th. Alright, assuming you did this correctly, you should be unlocking the adventurer photo card as well as the achievement related to it. It's worth another 60 gamer score. So as you could probably start to realize, this game gets a little redundant. You get these different endings by literally missing particular jumps during the different runs. But during this next run, we're going to be going for the Imperfect photo card, which is for jumping over the first 2 barriers, crashing into the 3rd, and then jumping over the last 4. So you're basically just missing 1. You're jumping over the first 2, you're missing the 3rd, and then you're jumping over the rest of them. Once again, 3rd and final time, you're jumping over the first 2 barriers, you're crashing into the 3rd, and then you're jumping over the last 4. You're basically only missing the 3rd barrier. Alright, assuming you only missed the 3rd barrier out of the 7 barriers, you you should be unlocking the Imperfect achievement worth 60 gamer score for unlocking the Imperfect photo card. Next, we're going to be going for one called Kangaroo. This one is for simply spamming the A button to jump. So you're just going to jump over and over and over again until after about 17 to 18 jumps, you should be unlocking the Kangaroo photo card or ending. Alright, assuming you did that correctly, you should be unlocking the Kangaroo photo card. And next, we're going to be going for the Lazy Bones photo card. To unlock this one, what we need to do is pay attention to the little monitor above the photo cards on the left hand side. It's a little black monitor with a line in the middle of it. It's going to pulsate before a jump, well, at least sometimes. In instances where it does pulsate, you want to jump over that barrier. If it doesn't pulsate, you want to crash into the barrier. So you're just going to wait for the cue. If it pulses, you're going to jump over. There we go, we got the pulse, so we're going to jump over. Gonna keep an ear out for it once again. Alright, we got a pulse, so make a jump. And we're going to rinse and repeat this process. Again, jumping when it has the pulse, not jumping when there's no pulse. Alright, assuming you only jumped on the pulses, you should end up unlocking the Lazy Bones photo card or ending. Next, we're going to go for one called Purposeful. In this ending, what we need to do is hit the first 2 barriers, then jump over the other 5. Again, you're crashing into the first 2 barriers, and then you're jumping over the final 5 barriers. Alright, assuming you crashed into the first 2 barriers and then you jumped over the next 5, you should be unlocking the Purposeful achievement or trophy, as well as the Purposeful photo card. Next, we're going to be going for the student photo card. To unlock this one, we must crash into the first barrier and then jump over the final 6 barriers. So you're basically only missing the first one and then jumping over the rest of them. Assuming you only crashed into the first barrier and then you successfully jumped over the rest of them, you should have unlocked the student photo card or ending, as well as the achievement or trophy related to it. Next, we're going to be going for a photo card called Stumble. To do this one, we must jump over the first barrier, crash into the next two, and then jump over the final four. Again, we're jumping over the first barrier, crashing into the second and third barrier, and then jumping over the final four. So you're only crashing into barriers number 2 and 3 out of the 7. Now, assuming you only crashed into the second and third barriers, you should be unlocking the Stumble photo card or ending, as well as the achievement or trophy related to it. Next, we're going to be going for one called Hard Worker. This is the one that I mentioned earlier that will unlock once the calendar days go to 1. Once you have expired all of the different calendar days, you're going to unlock the Hard Worker achievement or trophy. That's for doing a total of 12 runs because there's 12 different days. And as I mentioned earlier, even when you run out of days, you're still able to play the game an infinite amount to mop up the rest of your achievements. In this next one, we're going to be going for the weakling photo card. To do this one, we must jump over the first 6 barriers and then miss the final barrier. Again, you're only missing the 7th and final barrier. Assuming you only missed the final jump, you should unlock the weakling achievement or trophy, as well as the photo card related to it. Next, we're going to be going for our final ending. It's called the winner ending, and as you can imagine, this ending is for getting all of the jumps successfully. So again, you want to jump over all 7 barriers. As long as you're able to jump over all 7, you'll end up unlocking the final ending called winner. That's for jumping over all 7 barriers or hurdles. After that, it's going to trigger our final photo card, which is for collecting all of the photo cards. Alright, once you've jumped over all 7 barriers successfully, you should be unlocking the achievement called Winner for getting the winner photo card and jumping over all of the barriers. Aside from that, wait a few seconds and it's going to end up triggering our next photo card and final photo card called Collector for collecting all of the photo cards. This will trigger your final achievement worth 100 gamer score. Now let's just go ahead and double check. There we go, we got the full 1000 out of the full 1000. As always, I'd like to give a huge thank you to all of my Patreon subscribers. We just hit 16 patrons. I'd like to give a special shout out to everybody in the biggest fan club, including Tim G84, AOJ, Kegger101, Kana25, Michael Banksa, and Purple Rain 6. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe.